Harsh Mander is an author and human rights activist, and he joins us now live from New Delhi. Great to have you on the programme. Now, you have been protesting. Tell us why.
There have been many laws with which we may have a disagreement, but this is one law which actually, in a sense, in effect, destroys the very soul of the Indian Constitution and the freedom struggle, because at the heart of India's freedom struggle led by Mahatma Gandhi was the idea that India would be a country which would belong equally to people of every faith and the absence of faith. That religion would never be a marker of your right to citizenship. And it is, although India had a very bloody partition, Pakistan was carved out in the name of religion as a Muslim country. India resolved and continued to resolve that we would be a humane, inclusive country for all people. But the ideology of the government in power is actually was never reconciled to this idea of India. For 100 years, they have been actually fighting for an India which is a Hindu nation, in which Muslims and Christians would have to live as second-class citizens. And this act really marks marks the realization of that idea, and that's why it needs to be resisted. And protests have broken out all across the country, not just by Muslim people, but by people of every faith who believe in a humane and secular India.
These are strong words. You say, Harsh, that it goes against the soul of India and the spirit of Mahatma Gandhi. And do you think the government will actually meet the protesters' concerns? So much is happening there in New Delhi, where you are.
Right. Instead, actually, we've just seen over the last couple of days very brutal violence against students who were protesting in a university in Delhi, which has a large Muslim population among its students. Likewise, the Aligarh Muslim University has seen very violent violence. But in solidarity, it's been quite wonderful, because we're seeing students in universities across the country speaking out and coming out in processions. Today we had a program in the evening in Delhi, spontaneously through social media, where people went and just read out the Constitution and its preamble, talking about justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. And I think that this is a moment for India to reclaim or claim and reclaim the very idea of what it should mean to be an Indian, which means that there should be no qualifications, no eligibility. Gandhi lived for many ideas, but he died for this idea. He was killed by people opposed to the idea of an India in which Muslims would have equal citizenship.
I have goosebumps listening to how beautifully you speak about the soul of India and what you're saying right now. But do you think that anything will be done to reverse this bill, which is now law?
I think that I see that the political opposition actually in India has shown some spine, but not enough. Because there's almost an assumption that India, every Hindu has turned radical, and I don't think that is true at all. India has a much older civilizational history of welcoming people of every faith, and I think we will reclaim it. The Supreme Court of India also, has not been as strong in its defense of minority rights in recent years as we have seen it traditionally. So I think this battle is going to be fought on the streets, but even more importantly in our hearts, because it is ultimately the idea of whether this whole attempt to create hatred in our hearts against people because of their religious identity will succeed, or whether we will overcome it. And I do believe it's a battle really in the end for solidarity and love.
Harsh Mander, it has been a pleasure to hear your perspective here on CRT World. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.